Thank you. Okay, welcome, internet denizens of the internet world. Today, I'm here with the conspiritualist. That's such a great term. I'm enamored with that word. Peter Vereecke. He's an acclaimed researcher. He's traversed a long list of accomplishments in and out of mainstream society. He's an educator. He's an author. He was in politics. He's involved in the Catholic Church. He's done it all. And essentially, I had three categories of thought to bring to you today. That includes Paul is dead content. That includes the notion of social emotional intelligence and why it's important to group collaborations. And I wanted to talk about how we got here, because I think that's an important part of developing community and helping people to understand these journeys and how somebody such as yourself can start off in one paradigm and come so far ahead to a completely different reality and worldview. So I think that's a really fascinating journey.
Right. How we got here, the question, we, does that mean you and I or the people who are awake?
Both.
Both, yeah, okay. Okay, so do you want me to answer one of these three questions?
Sure. Why don't we start with your journey through the disclosure movement? You've mentioned in your book that the first 44 years of your life were based in what you were told and what I assume to be in the quote unquote mainstream sense. So I think that's a really interesting place to start because that's most of us. I have a mainstream background and I have a radical background. So I was exposed to both, but I didn't become this type of person until about 20 years ago is when I started studying. So
the first 44 years of my life, I was sleep living, so to speak. And at the year 2000, I had everything, and I was everything that I thought I needed to have and to be happy, let's say. But from that period on, very slowly and gradually, I began to not feel at ease anymore in my life. I started to pose questions. And the turning point was that at a certain moment in the library, I took a book, 9/11, What Happened? And it was this famous book of this British scholar, David Griffin. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I began reading and I thought, this can't be possible. I was flabbergasted. And that was the first of the domino stones that began to fall, and then I began researching all kinds of things, 9/11, the chemtrails, the vaccination, everything, yeah. So, and let's say from 2007, it became really clear and certain that there was an elite who are totally different from ours and who are steering us into the 1984 direction.
Right.
And we needed all to wake up and to get in our truth and in our dignity. So I was very active socially. I began with the civil movement, the Belfort group. And I started organizing all kinds of lectures to inform people. And gradually I became interested in the occult aspects. I studied very deeply in the occult aspects of 9/11 and came to the conclusion that it was all very in advanced planned ritual for Lucifer, their god, and a tip at the head for Aleister Crowley, who is very, very important also in the context of the Beatles, as you certainly know. And then at a certain moment I said, well, okay, I know what's going on in the world, what about my favorite group, the Beatles? I thought I knew everything about them, but I started digging into the occult aspects of them also.
Right.
And I was again flabbergasted. I said, the official story is a nice fairy tale, but the real story is totally different. And it's dark, and it's very, very, very dark. And the Paul is Dead issue is, let's say, the ultimate proof. If you begin to understand all the aspects of this issue, then you are saying, wow, if you understand the Beatles, you understand the world.
Exactly. And that's a point that I always want to touch on, is that 9/11 and Paul is Dead are diagrams of how things really work. So it's...
Yes, may I ask, do you also think that Paul was eliminated at the 11th of September of 1966?
I believe that he was eliminated.
9/11.
Well, there's some nuances to that. I believe that he was eliminated, but that the September 11th England car crash story was a cover-up. And the reason I believe that is because of the book I mentioned to you in our correspondence, Forbidden Fruit. And that author lays out evidence connecting Washington State and Seattle to the Beatles story. However, I don't know that, I'm not claiming that I have the exact, complete answer, but what I believe is that the Beatles story and Paul being sacrificed, whether it was in England or Washington State, is a diagram from a playbook. That this is, they call it the Faustian bargain. So whether it's Led Zeppelin, whether it's The Who, The Stones, Bob Marley, Nirvana, like, it's the same story over and over to some degree or another. Then you just gave me an opportunity to talk about community and social emotional intelligence. Now, one of the reasons I'm on this mission to talk to people about Paul is Dead is because I saw, through working in the 9/11 movement in New York 20 years ago, how people attack each other when they don't agree. And I see that in the Paul is Dead community as well. And it's like, we can be respectful of each other. It doesn't matter if we have the same opinion. If we're being respectful and mature, we're going to learn something together, And that's, social engineers love it when we go at each other and we call each other stupid names and, all that other crap that happens between people when they research, they argue. So I think it's a really important thing for us to share our point of view, share information, but to realize that we're always, my Paul is Dead point of view has changed, and my 9/11 point of view has changed. I never considered the hologram, and the interview where that I saw you in with what's his name, Guy, he's British, great guy,
Guy Anderson,
right, exactly. So. You mentioned the photograph of the nose of the plane embedded in one of the towers, and that's, a dead giveaway. Whereas I studied that when I was in my 20s, when I started this journey 20 years ago. I'm 47 now. I would argue with people, and I would do what the social engineers want. I would get on my high horse and argue my point of view in a way that was malicious and spiteful with people because of some kind of pride thing. And we all have to let go of that as people that research things, as people that know things that maybe some other people don't. And so my 9/11 point of view has changed despite my research. My Paul is Dead point of view has changed, and they'll probably continue to change as the years progress.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. We're going to keep learning things.
Yes, that's right. The truth, I'm very cautious. I say, based on what I know now, and what I understand now, I'm inclined to think in that way. And we have three centers of intelligence. We have our brains, we have our heart, and we have our guts.
Yeah.
And if a certain hypothesis feels good on these three levels, then you can say, probably I'm thinking in the right direction. And you always, I totally agree, have to keep your mind open.
Right.
Open, because and not at the beginning to fight, I only start to speak about what really concerns me when I get signals that the other party is also open-minded and interested. If not, I'm keeping a mouth shut.
Yeah, right.
It has no sense.
Right. I have a philosophy that I came up with to deal with the culture war. I call it the Kim-Kurt axis. And Kim stands for keep it moving, K-I-M, and Kurt stands for keep it relevant too. So we have to find relevancy, in my estimation, as to why we're sharing time, space, and energy. Because I saw this in the 9/11 movement. We assembled and we did a ballot referendum. We were petitioning people in the streets, getting signatures to see if they want to create a new official investigation with subpoena power. And I saw fighting and breakdown of progress because people started disagreeing about other issues that aren't relevant to 9/11. Oh, this person believes in Al Gore's global warming. This person doesn't believe it. This person believes in the JFK narrative. This person doesn't. And then it just the progress disintegrates from there. And like we have to keep it relevant to what we're achieving together, in my estimation. And that's part of social emotional intelligence, man. And I appreciate your open mind and your willingness to speak with me. I just wanted to say briefly to circle back to your question, man, about the September 11th and England car crash. Two of the things that push me into the Washington State narrative are the reference of Highway 31 in the song Death Cab for Cutie. And in the real world, Highway 31 can be found in Washington State, and it leads to a long, winding road that leads to Penny Lane. That's incredible. That's incredible.
That's right.
And Abbey Road is also another street in Washington State. So that's part of that whole piece of work that Sharon Clemons did with her book Forbidden Fruit. But the other thing that you may find interesting as well is that in an interview with Mark Devlin, Richard Balducci said when you convert the Gregorian calendar, the Gregorian to the Julian calendar, that August 28th becomes September 11th. And that when you convert from the old calendar to the new calendar. So Sharon Clemons, the Forbidden Fruit narrative, she places August 29th as the death. So in theory, now this is a theory, I'm not saying that this is actually has to be this way, but my theory is that if that ritual, the murder ritual, finished after midnight, but started on the 28th, as she purports in her book, then that fulfills that cycle, because when the conversion of the old calendar to the new calendar occurs, August 29th and September 11th, according to Richard Balducci, are the same day. So I found that to be very compelling. And there's a lot of other things, too, that I'm not going to go in too much about right now. But, so there's different camps, and that's okay. It's like we don't have to agree on everything in order to learn something from each other and to find progress in that.
Yes. What I'm thinking, the names Penny Lane and Abbey Road are those familiar names which exist in many, many villages.
Yeah.
So,
right.
By accident, also in Seattle or in Washington.
Yeah.
And the other thing that stands above all discussion is that the figures 9 and 11 are very, very important symbolic symbols for the cult, for the elite. These are that's really magic and the darkest form you can imagine. Yeah. So
Oh yeah, so another layer of symbolism. See, that's a thing that people, if the viewers or the audience are new to this topic, then it's important that you recognize that numerology and symbolism are akin to a fetish for the global elite and the social engineers. These are people that steer society for thousands of years, and it's a nucleus. We say the New World Order, but the New World Order is a generalized term that represents a nucleus of many different groups and many different factions that overlap into different agendas. So in the Paul is Dead context, we have the Freemason symbolism all over the place with the Washington State narrative. And here's some more examples. Seattle was known as the Queen City. It's located in King County. I do believe that Maxwell Knight, the spy master, orchestrated the hit, even if it did occur in Washington State, whether it was in England or not. I believe that he was part of the orchestration of that. Paul's head, according to the Forbidden Fruit narrative, is purported to be buried in the Octopus Hole Conservation Project outside of Seattle. And guess what? That's in Mason County. Like, it just keeps stacking.
Yeah, but
Yes.
But the term Queen City, what does that mean? Queen City.
That was that was a nickname for Seattle in that era, in the 60s, up and through the early 80s. It was one of its nicknames, the Queen City.
And who was the queen?
Right. I think it wasn't. It was more of like a general like.
Okay.
Like a sign of clout, a sign of significance. Not so much a specific person, but like a level of authority and power.
And the same goes for the Kingland. So it's the most important, prestigious land in the neighborhood.
Right.
Say. Okay.
Right. So there's layers and layers of symbolism that stack up on top of each other, which also compelled me with the Washington State narrative. However, there are details that are hard to come to terms with. And the thing is that a lot of what I've seen in your work is that you expose so many things that go way beyond where did he actually die. You expose the layers of satanic influence with the mind control and, the anagram with the word Beatles and all the different, set, bow, all the different words you can get out of the word Beatles. So I think that's really important too, because you're painting a picture that goes from the micro to the macro. And we have to understand, if you want to understand the way the world works, you have to see how the Satanic Agenda influences all these aspects of life. It's not just the Beatles. It's not just music. It's literally a handbook. It's a playbook. It's influenced by people like Aleister Crowley. He appears twice on the cover of Sgt. Pepper. Some people don't know that when they're new to this information. And the story that we're told is a theater, is a production, is a play, and that's meant to seduce us into thinking that it's a fairy tale brought to life. But the actual orchestration of these things are a lot more deceitful. There's session players. There's ghostwriters. There's layers of social-political influence and manipulation that they use incremental strategies to move us down a field over a period of 100 years, or whatever the amount of time is.
Yeah.
So,
you mentioned the name Aleister Crowley. I have the gut feeling that the present Paul McCartney, the imposter, might well be a bastard son of Aleister Crowley.
Right. Strong suspicion. Yeah. Strong suspicion.
Like David Bowie.
Right.
Like David Bowie. So, and it's amazing how well planned and in advance all is prepared. In my view, it's not impossible that already before John Lennon and Paul McCartney were born, the elite already had their eyes on them and prepared them to become collaborators in a project that became the Beatles. It's almost impossible for us humans to consider this as a real possibility, but the more I'm digging into it and thinking about it, contemplating, I think it's possible.
It's a paradigm shift, man. And I had the same transformation with 9/11 because both my parents tried to educate me about the New World Order when I was young, and I had a typical rebuttal of juvenile ignorance and arrogance, and I would say, why would government do that to their own people? I was very naive and uninformed. And then I moved through what I call the Alex Jones paradigm, where I started looking at his work and his information, and then I realized, although I don't believe he's authentic, I think he's part of the controlled resistance, some of it, the way that the controlled resistance people get you is that they give you some facts that are actually tangible, but then they don't tell you the other part of their agenda and who they really work for. But his work helped wake me up to that fact of seeing the stark, naked truth of history, that governments have done this for time on end. Social engineers have done this time on end. 20th century is a perfect example of it.
Alex Jones, David Icke.
Right. Right.
I'm very cautious. They are telling important things.
Right.
But there is a general rule in my view that when someone gets worldwide attention and financial possibilities, you have to be very careful, because who can you trust and whose intentions are good? Okay. It's a strange world we're living in.
It is a challenge, and the thing is, looking at your work with Paul is Dead, or some of the other things you've done, or just studying these things in general, some people ask, well, what can I do? And I understand that, because it's a dilemma. But what we can do is understand that it's an archetype, it's a structure that keeps repeating. And once you see the structure, you start to see how to apply it and the symbolism, and to see where their symbolism keeps showing up time after time, again and again and again and again and again. Music videos, magazines, photos, interviews. It's a whole, it's like it's a broken record. It just keeps going. So maybe somebody will learn in the future not to trust governments when they tell you to take certain types of intervention medically, because they've studied these things, because they can see that there's a pattern historically of being lied to and deceit, and that it has a negative intention behind it.
Well, what can we do? My suggestion is then always this chorus of Leonard Cohen, which I studied also very deeply. And in the song The Anthem, he says, "Ring the bells that still can ring." So speak out the truth. There is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in.
Right. It's a good point.
And so at a certain moment, I also had the feeling, also because 2012 was approaching, well, everything is going in great danger. We don't have much time. We must hurry and we must force things. Now I'm becoming more relaxed. We have the time, and I can't save the world, but I can do things that may help, together with what you're doing and what others are doing, to bring about this change in awareness and consciousness.
Yeah,
and this is the essential point of what's happening. We are awakening. We are beginning to see what happens. Beginning to have a notion of the evil and who they are and why they are like they are, and how we can take our dignity and our autonomy back.
Yeah.
So that's...
And I think that social emotional intelligence is one of the skill sets that's going to create that new paradigm. Because it's the data and it's psychology. It's both together. One without the other is dangerous. It's not the same impact.
Yeah, I would like to add to the social and emotional also the spiritual intelligence.
Yes,
I think that's very intelligent, very important, and all encompassing. Is that the right word?
Yes.
Word? Yeah.
Encompassing, yes.
Okay. So that's why I'm calling myself conspiritualist.
It's a perfect...
Spirituality, yes.
Peter, it's an iconic term. It's an iconic term. You have to run with that, man. People, that will pierce the subconscious of humanity, that term, because it's a perfect fusion of two very relevant ideas that are prevalent in our modern world. So I'm very enamored with that. But to speak more on the waking up process, I have a quote from your book, and it's about the waking up process. And it said, "Who gradually, but ultimately irresistibly woke me up? It certainly wasn't me. So I found that to be a very fascinating quote because of looking at my own journey, but thinking about where you came from as a member of the baby boomer generation. Surely you were considered very taboo by people maybe in your life, professionally, your colleagues, your peers, maybe somebody in your family. You know, I lost a lot of people in my life when I started getting into all this and waking up. And that's okay, even though it was painful. But I imagine for the people that are my seniors, that are older than me, from the older generations, that they even went even through more grief because there was less exposure and less circulation of knowledge.
Yes. When you become interested in searching for the truth and speaking of the truth, you become an outcast.
Right.
And okay, that's painful, and the truth will set you free, but first it will piss you off, and you will lose very many people, right. Almost all people.
Yeah.
But you get in contact with other people, and it's my belief that this movement, this shift in consciousness, is increasing gradually, steadily, but also certainly. I have the deep inner relaxing certainty. It will turn out good. Everything is developing according to a plan that is very much bigger than the plan of the elite, than the great conspiracy. And from a spiritual point of view, this elite has to exist to give us a kick in the ass,
right?
to set us into motion. And it's not always easy to accept this approach, but I think that's the essence that we need to get to this low point of being totally in the dark and totally separated and isolated, to again get out of the dark in the direction of the light.
Yeah, man, look.
Am I making sense?
Yes, absolutely. And this is one of my more radical ideas that I offer people, because identity always comes in layers. Even when you're evil, you still have a layered identity. And one of my beliefs is that the reason that the globalists, the New World Order, the Illuminati, the Saturnalia, whatever term somebody uses to refer to them as, one of the reasons they're still here on the planet is because they represent things energetically that we don't own about ourselves. Like, as a generalized idea, it's not common to own our sins. It's not common to own our shame. It's not common to own our shadow and our deceit and our crimes. And we all, even if we're not Satanists and we don't do horrible things to children, we still have sins. We all have some kind of sin in our life that we need to, like, come to terms with. We all have a shadow. And when we let that shadow out, it reduces the power of social engineers to manipulate us, to project our shadow onto the next person, the next group. Say, oh, it's those liberals, it's those gays, it's those blacks, it's those Mexicans, it's those Jews, it's those Hispanics, it's those... And all these terms are very generalized. And until you add more details or nuances, as we say in English, that we're not really sure who we're referring to. Because our DNA is mixed, our beliefs are mixed, Christianity has paganism in it, and the list just keeps going on to where the fact-based mixtures occur in all of our cultures. You know, the Statue of Liberty in the United States is from France, you know, and that has a cult background with Mithra, right? The cult of Mithra, I believe, is where they took the form, the statue, you know, the way it's posing. So all these different things compel us to decompartmentalize our identity. We have to learn the vulnerability to own our culpability, and that raises our frequency and our empowerment, and lowers the chance that we're going to be co-opted into blaming, quote unquote, everyone else or the next group or the next person. So that's a really important component of this, because we can be right about something but use that rightness to hide our pain and our shame and our darkness, and that's very common. And I think that happens a lot in these movements.
I think human nature is good
Right.
in origin, in essence, and in potentiality. But we have to admit that we have been lied to, we have been manipulated,
Yes.
we have been degraded uh, very fundamentally. But we are beginning to see now, and we are beginning to detach ourselves from this evil force that is manifesting itself in this world, but it is guided from another dimension.
Right.
You know, the elites, in my view, are the puppets who are played with by other supernatural forces which exist in high dimensions.
Yes.
You understand?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The war is spiritual in its essence, and the way that we interface with that war on one level is our own self-esteem. You know, self-esteem is
Yeah.
self-esteem is real. It's tangible. It's a physical part of life. It's emotional. It's spiritual. Your body is a part of it. Our conscience is a part of it. Our choices are a part of it. The way we treat people, the way we speak, and it's a whole list of things that includes the emotion you put in your voice, the way that you take responsibility for your understanding of the language you use, and the list just keeps going on. And we have a responsibility, and that's what we can do. It's not that it's hopeless. It's that the dark side can only destroy and pervert and distort, and they have to keep sacrificing to obtain their power. So when you understand that fundamentally, there's a sense of courage to understand that, like, yeah, there's a creator. We can call that God. Some people like the word, and that creator imbued us with an essence that's a reflection of that principle. And the people that distort that principle only can destroy and corrupt it, and they can mirror it, they can copy it, but they can't really create goodness. So their stuff it's like a snake that eats its own tail. It just keeps going and going and going, and they'll destroy everything in their way. And until we really understand that our spirit, like you said, it's a spiritual nature. Until we understand our spiritual essence, the data is useful, but the data is only part of this war. You know, we have to have 360 degrees, man. The spiritual, the emotional, the physical, the communication, the understanding of history, to see the repetition of their patterns. And I believe that this is the calling of our age, man. This is the most important thing on the table. Although 9/11 and Paul is Dead are very important to me, like I said, I see them as a bridge to get to that broader understanding. And your work, in my estimation, is a very solid bridge that lets people walk across the individual topic to the broader understanding. And I think that's a real blessing. So I'm very, very pleased to have connected with you.
Yeah. As I mentioned in my email, at this moment and for the last 3-4 months, I'm totally focused on the director, Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah.
And it's the second time. The first time was, I think, 8 years ago. And it was about the film 2001, A Space Odyssey.
Mm-hmm.
When I first saw it in 1970, I didn't understand it. I fell asleep while watching. But then I said, well, okay, why? And what's in this film? And I studied in it. And I also made a presentation of 3 hours. And I came to the conclusion that Kubrick was really a visionary. And in this film, he put everything that explains why we are in our present situation. And the same goes for his last film, which came out in 1999, Eyes Wide Shut. Eyes Wide Shut. And the first time I saw it in 2000, I fell asleep again. But now it's amazing how this man, via the medium film, shows everything. If you open your eyes and Have you seen the film Eyes Wide Shut?
Yeah, I have, and I've checked out numerous analyses of the film, and I can see how layered it is in its disclosure. And what fascinates me more
Yeah.
than anything is that, according to researchers and people that have promoted or have published content on this stuff, the original film is actually not in circulation. It was confiscated, and it's a watered down version of what he actually intended to be seen, is my understanding of it.
Well, Kubrick did a private screening for the people of Warner Brothers,
Right.
and for Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman, so very selected audience, on the 1st of March of 1999. 6 days later, he died.
Yeah. So Jesus.
According to the papers, peacefully, and there were no suspicious circumstances.
Right.
It was in the article. I know from experience that when they say that, the first day after something happened, no
Suspicious.
suspicious circumstances. You can say, well, it's very suspicious. He died 6 days after the screening,
Right.
on the 66th day of the year.
Oh yeah.
And when you go to the beginning of the year 2000, which is very important, you come to 666 days.
Right.
It's always possible that that's a coincidence, but you and I feel this is not a coincidence. This is the elite who says, well, okay, now he has gone too far in exposing who we are and how we are and what we are planning to do. This guy must be an example for the fate of everyone who is opposing us and our New World Order project. So I have a tremendous respect for him, and I feel it as a moral duty, like you feel it like a moral duty to expose the Paul is dead, to bring this to the light, because it can open the eyes of people and get our eyes wide open.
Yeah.
And what happens? Yeah,
It's interesting the way the universe or God's plan moves through all paradigms in my experience, because I caught on to what I call Counterculture Incorporated or Rebellion Incorporated in the 90s. 1994, I had my first awakening through the Beatles, Pink Floyd, psychedelia, and that's what brought me out of a very dense layer of mainstream culture. Okay, and then I start getting older, and I start learning that, well, actually, some of this counterculture was from the same people that created the mainstream. So it was a compromised rebellion. The CIA was passing out LSD at the Monterey Pop Festival, and the Laurel Canyon musicians, a lot of them were connected to the military industrial complex, and the list just keeps going on. And then I realized, I transformed through a paradigm that actually was set up or was encouraged to exist by people that didn't want me to transform. They wanted me to just stop by taking LSD and listening to the music and thinking that I had made it, when actually there's a whole nother universe beyond that stage for me, which was part of adolescence, and being a 20-something young man. And I'm very fascinated by this idea of counterculture now, because there is real value to it, and we can't measure the comprehensive impact of the inspiration. But that's what I tell everyone. I'm like, it's, as they say, it's the art. It's the art, not the artist. We look to the art to find the inspiration, and we act on that inspiration. But the stories that we've been told about these people, whether it's Salvador Dali or John Lennon or Bob Marley or Bob Dylan, they're not an authentic story as far as with what we're being told about their life and what their motives were and how they got to their level of fame. So that's okay, because now we understand that this is a game and the players come and go. But the inspiration, that's universal, and I apply that to my life. Whether I'm going to go take a bag of an empty bag and go pick up garbage in the street, or I'm going to go be more positive. I'm going to be more honest. Whatever that inspiration, however that manifests, that's fine, because that's real in my reality. And whether Alex Jones was a controlled op or John Lennon was a Satanist, like those things come after the fact. The things that they did gave me inspiration, and I acted on that inspiration. And I think that's a universal truth to share with people.
Yeah. John Lennon as a Satanist, I think he was controlled,
right.
Mind controlled.
Right.
And I think that Yoko Ono, and I wanted to ask you this question because your father got in contact with Yoko Ono, that he has been in the famous Dakota building on Central Park.
Yeah.
What was his feeling, his impression of this woman?
Okay, well, what I will say is that their interaction, I don't think, had too much emotional content. However, the situations that she had him go help her with were transactions with art purchases, and the details of that were very... It wasn't a good vibe surrounding those circumstances, and it was borderline shady. So I never knew what to really make of that, because 20 years ago, or a little more than 20 years ago, I read a book by Albert Goldman called The Lives of John Lennon. And this guy says some very harsh things in the book. However, I didn't have the Paul is dead knowledge 20 years ago. So I didn't have any framework to question and to find out. But now I'm thinking back about what was said in that book and comparing that to the other things I know through Paul is Dead. And now I'm wondering, and I compare that with my father's story about going there and then representing Yoko at a couple different projects that had him traveling in the U.S. And now I'm wondering, like, wow, how much of that book was really actually tapped into who they really were? But yeah, I believe you too about the mind control. The evidence is obvious. It's all over the place. The symbolism and the telltale signs of it. They were certainly controlled, probably even through their childhood or teenage years, at the very least.
For sure, yeah. As in my view, this Yoko Ono woman,
yeah,
she's in all aspects of the term a witch.
Yeah.
And I consider her to be the handler who has been put besides John Lennon. Right. Just like Linda Eastman has also been put or brought in contact with the fake Paul. They were from the same village. And their context is of course Jewish. The Jews are everywhere. Whenever you dig into something that's part of the environment, and people who get really in contact with these kind of people, they say, well, it's very dark. It's without a soul, without emotion. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel very human. They are, not nice
right.
entities or people.
It's that top ranking. It's the higher degrees of Freemasonry, which is Satanism, and that incorporates a lot of different groups. There's the Masonic Jews, the Masonic Christians, the fake Christians. Yeah. They incorporate a lot of different people. And they basically are like mafia, I know that you've mentioned the Khazarian mafia and that whole paradigm and understanding. And I'm on the outskirts of getting into studying that. I don't have a solid understanding of that yet, but I get the general premise of it, and Tartaria and like those kind of things. But these are societies that are obligated to look at us like the quote unquote vulgar and profane masses. They practice dualism. They are obligated to lie to us. They are obligated to put up these double entendres and triple entendres and the plausible deniability stories. And it's part and parcel to their culture. It's to be expected. It's how they have to operate, and we are considered vile, we're considered profane and ignorant, and we're to be, in their eyes, their ideology, we're to be controlled, we're to be lied to, and we have to be coddled like little sheep, little children, because they're the ones holding the big secrets and understanding of how to manipulate physical reality and how to move society and physicality in the way that you want to towards your will. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, the All You Need Is Love is a great example. Do you care to talk about the All You Need Is Love song? Do you have any thoughts about that? Because I think that's a great symbolic example, that it's actually representative of the Freemasons and Aleister Crowley's dilemma.
Oh, yeah. All you need is love. All you need is the New World Order. All you need is to act like Aleister Crowley. Do what thou willst,
Right.
shall be the whole of the law.
Right.
And love is, he says in his book, Oz, which is 7070, the whole law is love. But it's not the kind of love as we understand it. It's the love, the sexual aggressive drive to go your way, to fuck everyone, not only biologically and sexually, but generally to fuck everyone. And to go your way and to live your life, no matter what ethical or emotional consequences, to go your own way, to be a strong man, an Übermensch, like Nietzsche wrote. Yeah. And like they are doing now, to become a transhuman human,
right?
Creature, yeah.
And
Upgrade
the love. The thing too about the love component with Crowley's ideology is that the way I came to know it was that it's considered a subordinate of will. That love is a subordinate of your will.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's a very
love is your own selfish, dark, brutal will. And when you think about the other song he became very famous for, Imagine, I think it was written with the help of Yoko Ono.
Right.
It's the great song of the New World Order. Eh? No more borders, no religion, no possession. Everyone is equal. Yeah, like slaves.
Right.
So they are really the bagpipers. How do you call that? The
Pied Piper.
Yeah, the Pied Pipers. Yeah, that's what they are. They are taking us into a direction where we think everything will be fantastic and utopian, but it will be a dystopia if we let them get their way. Yeah.
And there's one more thing about the All You Need Is Love. I learned that the LOVE is actually symbolism for chess. And on the inside flap of Sgt. Pepper, the one where Billy has his back turned to the camera and the rest of the Beatles are standing facing the camera, that you can see that each of them are making a shape, L, and then Billy's making the O behind his back, and John's making the V with his hands tucked in his pants, and then George on the end has his fingers in an E shape. And what I learned is that each of those letters is symbolic of a chess piece and the shape of the move it makes on the chessboard. So that was a very yeah. I'm gonna edit in a photo that illustrates that. So I'll send you the link later when I upload this. And very, very fascinating layer of symbolism.
It's more or less like the symbology on the help cover.
Right.
They're also making signs of a ritual of Aleister Crowley, and I think the order, the OTO,
Yeah.
OTO.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It's important.
So,
It's important to see these patterns, because once you become literate in this language of symbolism, it starts showing up everywhere, and you can just walk a couple hundred meters, you'll find a symbol with some company logo, product, group, band, movie, whatever it is. It's all over the place.
so love, those four letters are making signals that make sense in the context of chess.
Exactly. The L is the knight, and that's the L-shaped move. The O is the queen, so it's got and the V and the E are the bishop and the rook for the shape of their move.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Very interesting.
Yeah, Stanley Kubrick was also an excellent chess player, and you have to move on our playground of black and white, good and evil. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's confusing, man. It's confusing because it's such a massive labyrinth of information and ideas and people and events, but it can be distilled to some basic concepts, like you said, dualism. The black and white have to be together. Good has to be with evil, and that's a very warped idea that we're just supposed to accept evil instead of change it or eliminate it. That they practice dualism. That they'll do one thing with their right hand that helps people, but with their left hand they're actually doing something else that's very painful and malevolent. So we have to find our own relationship to psychology in this, because as I think it was Martin Luther King, although it sounds like he was in the club as well, had said, each of us is somewhat schizophrenic and tragically divided against ourselves. And I think there's a beauty in that comment, in that quote, because the psychology, like I keep saying, it's what life has shown me, that it's each element together included is what it takes for transformation and salvation. It's not just the information. It's not just the self-esteem. It's not just the spirituality. It's not just your physical health. It's you bring all these things together to make your own kingdom. And I think that's what we're growing into now, man. This is the waking up. It's the disclosure movement. It's breaking people out of this Piscean age of the dark side of the Piscean age of deceit and delusion.
Yeah. Everything we talked about so far is very important, but I would like to add something that is, I think, most important.
Yes.
And something we must not forgive, that we have the moral and the existential obligation to live and to try and be happy and to have a good life in every sense. So it's very important to get informed, but it must not be a maniacal obsession,
right.
and let you get into fear or anxiety or depression and so on. No, relax. It's only a game. Right. It's only a game. It's an experience, and we don't have to be afraid of anything. Right.
Yeah, it's true, man.
I think.
Right. The idea of becoming obsessed too. That's part of the internet and the fear mongering, and the algorithms. Yeah. The algorithms pander to that. They want people. It's been proven that they were trying to use the algorithms with Facebook to swing outcomes of elections and to anger people. And it's the good cop bad cop formula. We're gonna be the good guys with this hand, but first we're gonna bring you the bad guys with this hand to get you mad, and then we're gonna offer you the good guys. I think that's kind of a David Icke, Alex Jones thing. They're not the only ones, of course, that do that, but so we have to be conscious of it. Like you said, it's a responsibility, man. We're here to live life and to enjoy it, the beauty of it and the majesty of it. We have a divine origin. We have a divine destiny from our Creator, man, and that can't be destroyed if we're honest and we stand up to the truth and we stand up to our responsibility, man, to own these qualities and to own this heritage. It's okay that I love the Beatles. It's okay that you love the Beatles. We just don't worship them. We don't worship them, and we understand they were manipulated. But we love their music, and the music has touched our lives and our friends and our friendships, and that matters. That really matters.
Yeah. I have nothing more to add. That's a wonderful conclusion of our first acquaintance.
Yeah, thank you, man. This has been an honor. I feel very blessed to have connected with you, and I'm gonna be I'll add in a couple little photos of some of the things while we were talking later, and I'll be sending you that. And just briefly, I'm going to put some links on the description, but tell people where they can find you or how to follow up if they want to know more about you or your work, your books, etc.
It's going to be very difficult to find me because I am not on Facebook or on anything.
Right.
I don't have a mobile phone.
Right.
So the only way to contact me is via my email address.
Okay.
So if people are interested in who I am and what I've done, they can send me an email, and then I can send them information concerning the presentations that I've made so far. Because it's a whole variety of subjects. For instance, I no longer believe that we are living on a spinning ball.
Right.
In this universe. I think that's a major lie too. In order to degrade us, we are small, we are infinite. We live in a universe where we have 2.200 trillion Milky Way systems, according to the science. 2,200 billion Milky Way systems. So we are nothing.
Right.
We are the cancer on a little point. So that's not true. It's one of the major lies. Yeah. So I have also presentations on these subjects. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm going to include some kind of mention in you in the description. Is your book available, Peter in Wonderland? Is that still available, or?
I can send it as a PDF file.
Okay.
But no.
Okay.
No. So you have put it in a translation system?
No, I just I did get a couple things translated out of it. Those quotes I was mentioning about. You talked about the 44 years, your first 44 years, and waking up. But I did try to look at it through a PDF and realized it was I don't read that language. So
no. Okay. I understand. Yeah. All right.
All right. Well, Peter, thank you so much for your time, and we're signing out here, man. God bless, and I look forward to seeing anything that you do in the future, and I'll be in touch soon, my man.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Ciao.
It's a pleasure.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.